You go to countless classes, go to this festival and that festival, watch tons of YouTube videos and Instagram reels, and yet you still don't feel like you're improving in your dancing. Here are 10 warning signs that your dancing will not improve and what you can do about it. Number 1, you put yourself down. Now, if you are constantly putting yourself down in a negative, non-constructive way, you're just going to make yourself feel worse and worse about your dancing, make yourself feel more self-conscious and less likely to put yourself out there, and then have an anxiety associated with your dancing and how you look when you're dancing, which really is going to stop you from improving and getting better, because you can't look at yourself in a subjective and critical way. It always is associated with an emotional, negative feeling. And really, we want to come away from that. I think it's really important as individuals to be able to look at our dancing subjectively, look at ourselves in a way that's going to be like, we're going to have to improve. We need to improve. Everyone can be better. Nobody is perfect. Even, the best dancers in the world are not perfect. They train all the time in order to iron out those kinks and iron out those little bits, those imperfections, and it is totally and completely okay. So that one is more of a mindset change. Perhaps some counselling is needed in terms of self-esteem and confidence. But if you are constantly putting yourself down about your dancing, you're going to find it so difficult to improve. And kind of linked to that, but also perhaps something that maybe you've not thought of, but if you never look in a mirror while you are dancing, or you never take a video of yourself and critically watch it back, you're not going to know what your body is doing. So there's loads of times where you can say, teachers told me to do this with my body, and you think you're doing it, and the teacher will come and adjust, or change little bits here and there, because you're actually not doing it. And sometimes your body self-awareness definitely gets better the more you dance. But if you want it to be good, you have to use mirrors, you have to look back on videos of you dancing so that you can actually assess whether your body is doing what it's supposed to be doing. And without that, if you didn't do that, you definitely wouldn't improve, because you're only doing what your brain thinks it's doing. And sometimes that is not the truth. Number 3, you don't social dance. If you just come to class and you learn the dance as it is in the choreography, and every single other person in that class has learnt the same choreography, when you go to dance, let's say you're a leader and you go to dance with different followers, the followers know what's coming next. So if you don't then take that into the social dance scene and you don't practice with people who don't know what's coming next, you might end up not being a very good leader. And on the vice versa, same as a follower, if you're not used to feeling the lead or knowing what's coming next, and you just know because you've been to classes, your ability to follow diminishes, and you'll probably be back leading a lot of the time. So make sure you social dance as much as possible. In that same vein, if you dance with the same people every single time, yes, it's going to feel good because you guys know each other, you know your moves, you understand the lead, you understand each other's follow. Yes. However, it's not going to contribute to your improvement if you're dancing with the same people all the time. Can you lead that move with a bunch of different people and adjust it every single time and have it successful? These are the kind of questions that you want to be asking yourself when you're learning something, is, do I actually know how to lead it? Do I actually know how to follow it? And can I do it with multiple different people when I don't know what's coming next, or I don't know how well they're going to follow? So make sure that you are going social dancing as much as possible and dancing with new people all the time, irrespective of level. Number 5, you don't take criticism well. There is another point that I'm going to make later in the video, which kind of not necessarily counteracts this, but is like the sister to this point. But if a teacher comes to you and says, look, you need to change this, and you roll your eyes at them, or you think you're too good, or you think you're doing it right, without understanding what the other person's trying to say, you're not going to improve. You need to be able to accept criticism, understand where it's coming from, and if you need to, incorporate an improvement, again, using the mirrors, trying it in social dancing to see if you can get better. Now, sometimes it's a bit harder when you get criticism from other people in the class who perhaps you don't think are good dancers, or perhaps at the same level or you're equal. But just remember that when people say something, unless it, as I mentioned, partners up with the sister kind of point I'm going to make later, unless it partners up with that, take it on board and figure out if there's actually something you need to do about it. Positive criticism, understood and applied, is going to improve your dancing so much. Now, number 6, this one again kind of comes with the social dancing, but there are some people who social dance all the time, right? But they still don't feel like they're improving on the social dance scene. So my next point is to do with practicing new moves that you have learned on the social dance scene. You can go to a class and you can learn all of these fancy moves, like the sensual bachata, for example, or some fancy salsa turns. And then when you go back onto the social dance scene, you go back to what you have always done on the social dance scene. You don't do anything new, you do your basic steps, you do your basic turns, you maybe try 1 or 2 fancier moves that you have mastered, but you don't go back to what you've just learned, or you don't go back to what you learned last week or the week before, and then you're not incorporating what you're practicing into your social dance scene and not remembering it either. So why are you paying all of this money for those classes if you're not then going to use it, or at least try and use it later? I know sometimes it can be a bit intimidating. And you know what? This one is in particular for leaders, or when it comes to like styling or extra flair for followers. But in particular for leaders, is sometimes you get a bit nervous because you want the other person to be having a good time with the dance. And so you want to lead well, you want to do things that are going to be fun. But at the same time, it does end up getting a bit samey every week. You are a bit like, okay, what's next? So to make it more interesting, yes, it might go wrong the first few times, but that is okay. Try the moves that you've done in class out on the social dance scene. Try new things. Number 7, you fear making mistakes. Like, again, comes back, it is linked to stuff we've spoken about, but if you're fearing it, like you're actually genuinely scared of making mistakes, so you don't try anything new, this isn't going to be a good thing for you. You need to embrace the fact that you are not perfect, you need to embrace the fact that you're going to make mistakes, and that it's okay. Everybody makes mistakes. One thing I hate is that when I go to dance with people and they're apologising every second, like, oh, I'm sorry, oh, I shouldn't have done that, I'm sorry. Like, stop apologising. Have a good time. If you're having a good time, I'm having a good time. If you make a mistake, laugh it off. Just be like, whoops. My classic is, oops, my bad. Give them a smile, continue dancing, you know? It just lightens the mood up, you know? And I find that mistakes sometimes are enjoyable because it means that you're trying something different or something hasn't quite gone right. And it makes it interesting. So you can have a little laugh, you can have a little like, ooh, and then continue. Mistakes, absolutely fine. It means that you are growing and you are challenging yourself, and therefore you're going to improve. Now, number 8 is a little bit different, and this one is you only stick to one role. Okay, stay with me here. Now, if you are a leader and you can lead, you can learn all these fancy leads, you can learn how to lead, but there will come a point where it's going to be very hard for you to improve because you don't truly understand what it means to be a follower. And on the reverse, you could follow, you could be an amazing follower, you could do all these things, but there will come a point where it's going to be hard for you to improve as a follower because you don't know how to lead, you don't know what's going on with the leader. And when you don't understand each other's roles, it's very hard to have that conversation when you are dancing. So I highly recommend, even if you are a leader on the dance floor or you are normally a follower of the dance floor, every other week, or if you want to master it every week, swap roles. Say, actually this week I'm going to lead, or actually this week I'm going to follow, and understand each other's roles better so you can improve faster. Now, this might be more difficult if you are new to the dance, so perhaps you can pick one and stick to it until you get a bit more comfortable, you know what leg you're supposed to be going off on, and then you can switch to the other side. Or if you are quite competent with lefts and rights and knowing when to start on the music, you can alternate every week. So you know how I said that there was like the sister warning sign to the taking criticism? This one is blaming your partner for mistakes. Now, I have gone with dancers, like let's say with leaders in the dance floor, and they'll get annoyed at me because I'm not following correctly. Couple of things. Again, I can make mistakes, absolutely fine, but sometimes I'm not making a mistake and it's just been led really badly, and the other person, rather than laughing it off, acknowledging they've made a mistake, or just leaving it, they will put it upon themselves to tell you you're doing a bad job. Now, there's a difference between telling someone they're doing a bad job and giving them positive criticism. I don't think that there is a need for criticism on the social dance scene. That's just my opinion. I just don't think there is, unless the other person has asked, like, oh, is that okay? Then you can be like, yeah, it's good, or, you know, oh, maybe it could be led a bit better. But if you're just dancing, you're having a good time with someone, and they're constantly like digging at you, no, big no. But what that also tells me is that the other person is blaming someone else for potentially their mistakes, especially if those mistakes are being repeated with partner to partner. Just don't do it. Don't do it. I think it's so important not blame other people and see, is there something perhaps that you could do better? But as soon as you start blaming everyone else for your mistakes, or you dance with someone and you're not leading properly or you're not following properly, but you're having the same problem with multiple people, then maybe you are the problem, and then you need to take a look at your dancing and see how you can improve. If you put that barrier in front of you straight away, that I'm a good dancer and reasons why mistakes happen is everyone else's fault, you're not going to improve. Now, number 10, as a dance teacher, probably shouldn't tell you about this one, but one of the reasons why you might not improve is if you are learning from the same teacher and just that one teacher. Every single person, every single teacher will have something different, something, whether that's the way they explain something, whether that's a technique, a styling point, dance moves themselves. Wherever you go in the world, even like the next school over, on the next road, the teacher there is going to have something different about them. If you learn from the same teacher, you are narrowing the chance and the opportunity to learn from a wide variety of things and then figure out what works well for you. So I always recommend is find another teacher and alternate between them, or do one class this week, do the other class next week, or do both in 1 week if you can. But use the opportunity to learn from as many different people as you can and ask as many questions as you can to these different teachers to get a full, well-rounded learning experience. And then at the same time, using things like YouTube and Instagram Reels to then supplement your learning as well. Learning from multiple different sources, multiple different teachers, you're going to be improving in no time. Bonus tip number 11 is you don't go to technique classes. If you are just learning moves, move after move after move after move, but you're not improving your quality of movement, you're not improving your styling, you're not improving the way that you move on the dance floor, you're not going to improve. Like, you can just learn moves off a YouTube video, right? So take the time to go to technique classes. Now, once every few months, I'll do like a 3-hour boot camp. But in my opinion, I don't think that's enough. I think you need to be going weekly, bi-weekly, at least monthly to some sort of technique class, and then spend the time in between those classes incorporating it and implementing it into your dancing. Let me know in the description below if any of those apply to you and what you're going to do to change that, whether it's a mindset thing or if it's a tangible action. Let me know in the description below, and in the meantime I've got another video here which I would recommend for you to watch. I'll see you over there.